On March 16, 2022, this year's first hearing of the Vietnam National Assembly Standing Committee was held. About once every 2 months, the National Assembly will hold a hearing where national representatives are free to question the heads of all the government ministries about the issues that they are concerned with. The price of petroleum is currently a big issue in Vietnam, and lots of representatives have been very concerned about the price of gas and its impact on the economy. In this video, I present to you some of the questions asked by National Assembly members as well as the answers provided by the Minister of Industry and Trade about the price of petroleum in Vietnam.
Mr. Minister, I want to ask you 2 questions coming from one of our constituents. First question, can we lower the price of gas in the near future? Second question, Vietnam's method of calculating the price of gas is very complicated. There are so many taxes that our constituent believes they are unreasonable. Our constituent wants the minister to explain why petroleum is under a luxury tax, even though it is actually an essential good. And as for the environment protection tax on petroleum, how has it been spent protecting the environment? Dear Representative Phung from Tay Ninh Province, as for how to decrease the petroleum price, whether we can reduce the petroleum price or not totally depends on the global market. One thing that I can assure you is that no matter how fast the global gas prices fluctuate, we in the Ministry of Finance and many other ministries will try to keep petroleum prices as reasonable as possible. As I already reported, the tool that helps us to do this is our Price Stabilization Fund. When we run out of our Price Stabilization Fund, we will reduce taxes and fees. If we also run out of all of our tax and fee money, we will come up with other solutions, such as social welfare or direct support to our citizens and businesses that use a lot of gasoline. In your answer, you mentioned many times about the solution of reducing the environment protection tax. I personally think that this is a necessary thing to do in order to reduce the petroleum price pressure. However, in my opinion, we need to discuss more what kinds of taxes we should reduce. There are 3 points that I find illogical about reducing the environment protection tax. Firstly, this solution is not suitable with the nature of the environment protecting tax. Because this tax is charged on products that are harmful to the environment, the tax rate is built on the pollution level of a product. If we reduce the environment protection tax of gasoline, this will lead to a contradiction. Products with high pollution levels will have lower environment protection tax, while products with lower pollution levels will have to bear higher environment protection taxes. Secondly, the gasoline bought for the National Reserve was already charged with full environment protection tax, which is 4,000 dong. If this gasoline is sold now, after we reduce the tax rate, we will have to face a big loss. And this is not in accordance with our price management principle, which is to assure benefits for all sides. If we choose to lower a different kind of tax, this contradiction will disappear. Thirdly, based on what's happening around the world in countries that use taxes to stabilize petroleum prices, they all use taxes such as VAT, luxury tax, or import tax. Canada, the UK, and Portugal are now reducing VAT. India and Thailand are reducing their luxury tax on petroleum. Therefore, I do believe that reducing taxes to lower gas prices is a good solution, but the Ministry of Finance, along with the Ministry of Industry and Trade, should carefully decide the kind of tax that should be reduced. Thank you so much for listening, Mr. Minister. I agree with Representative Mai that in order to stabilize the price, we must use taxes and price stabilization funds. About what kinds of tax we should reduce, to be honest, we did discuss a lot about this. We had many discussions in our ministry, and we also reported to the central government. We saw that the global situation right now is very intense with highly fluctuating petroleum prices. The fastest solution right now is to reduce environment protection tax, because this is under our direct authorization. Another important point, honestly, I don't think there's a good scientific basis to set the environment protection tax at 4,000 dong as we are doing right now. On what basis did we decide that it must be 4,000 dong instead of 3,000 dong or 5,000 dong? That's why, in this difficult time, no matter what solution we choose, the priority is to reduce the price to save the economy, to help the people. That is what is necessary. That's my honest opinion. I totally agree with you that in the near future we need to discuss more about this. I want to say this one more time. Even though we said that our economy is a market economy, actually it's not a free market economy. There are certain special products that must be under the government's management. We are a socialist-oriented market economy. The economy must be under the government's regulations. Everything that we're doing right now is for the benefit of the people, not for the benefit of any ministry. The emergency right now is to deal with the petroleum price issue. If we wait for the National Assembly to discuss the final solution, we will have to wait until until May. Then we will have to wait until June and July for the resolution to be acted. That is very worrying because once our price stabilization fund runs out, and if we can't reduce the tax, how can we lower the price? And when the global gas price keeps increasing, how can we do differently rather than also increase the price accordingly? Gas price increases every day around the world, but in Vietnam, we only adjust once every 10 days. Is that suitable with reality? For that reason, many petroleum agencies were afraid that they would have to sell at a low price while buying at a high price. Therefore, they are very hesitant. Please, Mr. Minister, do you have any solution for this? Thank you, Mr. Minister. As for the petroleum price being adjusted every 10 days, I will say this. We follow Resolution 95, which is the edited version of Resolution 83. We've made a very important change in this resolution. Before, we adjusted gas price once every 15 days. Now we adjust it once every 10 days, on the 1st, 11th, and 21st. This adjustment is suitable with the fluctuation of the global market. Of course, like Representative Hua said, the price changes every day around the world, but again, our economy is not a free market economy. It must be under the government's management and regulations and under the leadership of the Communist Party. It is obvious that we have to manage it wisely. We can't be too right or too left while learning lessons from other countries. This decision was not suggested by just the Ministry of Industry and Trade alone. It was suggested by many related ministries, and it was approved by the whole government. This decision is suitable with the accounting cycle of many companies. It will also be helpful for the Statistics Department to calculate the PCI index. Resolution 95 also clearly stated that if the gas price in the world changes drastically and heavily affects our society, all related ministries have to advise a more frequent cycle. We must put the benefits of the people, businesses, and the government above everything. If we don't put the benefits of the people, businesses, and the government above everything, that's going to be very bad. For example, if we change petroleum prices more frequently, of course that's better for business, but the people will suffer. That's the truth. It's true that petroleum prices around the world change every day, and we keep asking those petroleum agencies to keep the domestic price stable. They made profits before now, so it's time to take some losses. According to the report, Vietnam doesn't have petroleum reserves. Is this the main reason why the petroleum price has increased drastically now? In the future, will the government have solutions for this? Second question, how does the ministry view the plan on supplying and consuming petroleum recently? Did you foresee all these problems when making those plans? What do you think your responsibility is in increasing the price of petroleum these days? I'll answer the question from Representative Dien from Vinh Phu Province. You said that according to the report, there are no petroleum reserves. That's not true. As I said earlier, we do have petroleum reserves, but we have very few of them. They can last only 5 or 7 days. And those reserves can only be used for very special circumstances. We can't use them now in this situation. In the future, we and other related ministries will research and come up with plans to raise our petroleum reserves. We should have enough for at least a few months. Because obviously it will take a few months for the petroleum price to become stable. We will consult to raise our petroleum reserves. Instead of reserving by money, we can reserve by product. As for how to organize this, we will be sure to research carefully and listen to the advice from the national representatives. As for the plan to supply and consume petroleum, we have prescriptions to follow. Every month we need about 2 million tons of petroleum. We combine the petroleum, which we have left in our inventory, with the petroleum we produce domestically, then we import the rest. But in order to prepare for our economic recovery, we already demand import companies to raise 20% to 30% of the amount of imported petroleum. We will make sure that there's going to be no supply shortage. It's true that many retail agencies cannot buy petroleum due to shortages. As I reported, Nissan refineries suddenly stopped working. To be frank, even to this day, they just committed with the government verbally. Even if they gave us a letter of commitment, it could still be changed at any time. Dear everyone, even when you want to buy food from the market, you still need time to do that. Importing petroleum is a very complicated task that requires a lot of time and effort. I can assure you that from the start of this year, we have never lacked petroleum. There were some local shortages, but the ministry immediately rearranged and distributed from this wholesale business to other whole ones, from this agency to other agencies. If we find out that any agency is holding on to product to wait to sell at a higher price, they're going to be punished. I really hope the national representatives and the voters will tell us who is violating that law. We will find them and investigate. If they really did violate the law, we will make sure they will be severely punished. From now on, if any of you hear any misinformation about Vietnam lacking petroleum or the supply chain being broken, please know that those rumors are not true. I, in front of the whole National Assembly, take full responsibility for this. If our domestic refineries are unable to produce any petroleum, just inform the government. We will be in charge of assigning import companies to import petroleum. If the assigned import companies refuse to import petroleum, we will revoke their business licenses. All of these planned figures are announced on our official website. If you want to know which company is being assigned how much petroleum to import, just go to that website and check. If you find out that your wholesale company doesn't publish their figures, inform us. We will investigate and punish them based on the level of their violation. Recently, many other agricultural products prices have increased. Petroleum prices have also drastically went up. This has led to many prices of many other products and services to also increase. The life of the people and producers is getting harder and harder. There are people who think that this ministry needs to change the method of managing petroleum prices. What do you think about this idea? Does the Ministry of Industry and Trade have any solution to stabilize the prices in order to control inflation and make people's lives better? Representative Hung from An Giang Province asked about the management of petroleum prices. As I said already, we are trying our best to manage domestic petroleum prices in accordance with the international price. But we will try to keep our price volatility lower than the rest of the world. The best tool to do this is our price stabilization fund. Another tool is to demand the government to lower the taxes. After that, we will have welfare programs to help the people. The Ministry of Labor, War Invalids, and Social Affairs will come up with new policies. We will also have policies to help companies that are dealing with hardship due to increase of petroleum price. We already spent 350 trillion VND to help our economic recovery. Of course, it'll be no problem now to spend a few billion more to save our economy and help our people now.
It has now been 2 months since the meeting you just watched was held, and Vietnam is still struggling with the price of petroleum. The government is continuing to try to keep the price as reasonable as possible. On May 23rd, this year's second hearing of the National Assembly will be held, and progress on controlling the price of gas will be assessed, and policies will be reviewed and updated. Now in Vietnam, petroleum price changes every 10 days following Resolution 95. The price for a liter of gasoline right now is about $1.3 US, the highest price we've ever had. even though this is still lower than the world's average gas price, which is 1.87 US dollars. But it is still very high, and our people's lives are being terribly affected by this. Hopefully by May 23rd, Vietnam will come up with suitable solutions to deal with the situation.